Hello, I'm Onyx, and I will be showing you how you can make your own jewelry organizer that you can rearrange however you like, whenever you want to. I'll show you how I made this bracelet organizer, hair claw organizer, and this dual-purpose ring and necklace organizer. So to get the easy part out of the way, you will need a bulletin board, also known as a corkboard, to attach all the individual organizers to. You can get these pretty much anywhere. I got mine from IKEA, but let's focus on the actual DIY part. Here are all the materials you're going to need. I'll put a list of all of them in the description of this video. Also, I will be using centimeters for all the measurements, but I'll put how much each measurement is in inches up on the screen. So, starting with the easiest one, which is the bracelet organizer. You're going to take your piece of cardboard and draw a rectangle that is 8 by 6.5 centimeters. Then cut it out and use something like the palm of your hand to gently curve it until the two long sides touch. Connect the two sides using some hot glue. I like gluing the two corners together first, so the sides stay together, which makes gluing them easier. Now we're going to make the internal supports that will make the piece sturdier. So first you'll draw two rectangles that are 7 by 2 centimeters, 1 centimeter shorter than the piece, so there's room for the pin. Then cut a slit from one of the short sides to the middle of the rectangle like this. Now take the two rectangles and with the sides that have the slits facing each other, slide the two rectangles onto each other and secure it with some hot glue. Now take this piece and put it into the tube, leaving room for the pin on one side. Then, using the tube as a guide, trace two circles on some more cardboard and cut them out as well. Grab a pin and cut it down just a little with some pliers. I don't recommend cutting it down all the way because it can expose the head of the pin and it could get pushed inside the piece and then it won't attach to the bulletin board. Then push the pin into one of the circles and secure it with some hot glue. Now attach the circles to the tube. And that's the base for the bracelet organizer done. Next up, the hair claw organizer. Start by drawing a 6 by 6.5 centimeter square. On one of the 6.5 centimeter long sides, draw a 2 centimeter line coming from the center. Then draw two lines going from the line to one of the two corners, forming a triangle. Now you're going to need two of these, so you can either draw a second one and cut out both of them, or you can just cut out the first one, trace it out on some more cardboard, and cut the second one out. Then bend both of them the same way you did for the bracelet organizer and glue them together so you end up with two tubes. Also the same way as the bracelet organizer, make the supports, but make them 5 by 2 centimeters instead of 7 by 2. Glue them in, leaving some space on the straight sides for the pins. Once again, like the bracelet organizer, cut two circles out and put a pin through both of them this time, and glue them on. Now for the middle section, start with a 17 by 6.5 centimeter rectangle. Then, like with the previous pieces, on the short sides, draw a 2 centimeter line from the center of each line. And draw 2 lines connecting the top of the line to one of the corners. And again, cut it out, bend it, and glue it together. The supports are the same as before, but 17 by 2 centimeters this time. Once again, glue in the supports and then glue the 2 sides onto it. And that's the hair claw organizer done. Now the last and most complicated one, the ring and necklace organizer. So you're going to grab some wire. I've had this for a very long time, so I don't remember the exact thickness, but I'd guess 1.5 millimeters. And you're going to cut it into 15 pieces that are 10 centimeters long. Now twist 3 of the pieces halfway and the remaining 12 all the way. Then grab the 12 fully twisted ones and bend each of them into a hook shape, and put them off to the side for now. Now draw a 15 by 5 centimeter rectangle on a piece of cardboard. Mark 1 centimeter from the corners on one side and round out those corners. Then mark a line from the middle, which is 7.5 centimeters from the corner. Also, mark 2 lines 2.5 centimeters from each corner. And draw a line from the middle of one of the short sides, which is 2.5 centimeters from both corners, that goes all the way to the middle of the other side. I find the easiest way to draw out these lines is to mark the spots that they're gonna go. Now in the spots where the lines meet, draw a circle that is 2 centimeters in diameter. I just mark a notch 10 centimeters away from the middle, both vertically and horizontally, then connect the notches completing the circle. Then cut the piece out and use an X-Acto knife to cut the circles out. Also make another one without the circles. Now for the back side, it's the same length as the top, 15 centimeters, and 1 centimeter in height. Then mark the same lines as you did on the top. One in the middle of the long side, 7.5 centimeters from both ends. 2 more, each 2.5 centimeters from the ends. And the last one from the middle of the short side, which is 0.5 centimeters from both ends and goes all the way to the middle of the other side. This time you're going to use those lines as a guide to insert the pins that you'll cut down a little bit first. Then stick them in and glue them on. For the rest of the sides, you can just make a bunch of long strips of cardboard that are 1 centimeter tall as well. Now connect the back to the bottom. I glue the corners first, then fill in the gaps. For the other side, glue the start, then bend it to fit the bottom and glue it bit by bit. Then, once again, fill in all the gaps. Then make some supports. They're just 2 pieces that are 1 by 5 centimeters. Cut them out and glue them in between the holes. They don't have to be perfectly even as long as they're a good distance away from the holes. Don't put the top on yet though. Now you're going to get out some air dry clay, optionally some gloves, and your wire hooks. Cover all of them in clay and let them dry. And while they dry, you can cover the bracelet and hair claw organizers in clay as well. I find the best way is to roll out a large sheet, cut it to size, and cover the piece in it that way. For the hair claw organizer, I do it in 3 pieces, but any way works just as long as you leave the pins uncovered. For the necklace and ring organizer, cover just the bottom for now. Now that all the hooks are dry, grab those and the Y-shaped wires and start gluing the hooks around the wires in pairs of 4. It's not going to be a strong bond. You could easily peel the glue from the clay, but it's just temporary so we can reinforce it with clay later. I just go in and try to fill in all the gaps between each hook and blend it into them. Then grab some cardboard again and draw 6 circles that are 2.5 centimeters in diameter. You can draw and cut out one of them and use it to trace out the other 5. Now glue the circles together in pairs of 2 so you end up with 3 pieces. Then use a thick needle or sculpting tool to pierce a hole through the middle of each piece. Grab your hooks and the main piece and put one of the hooks through one of the holes. Now grab one of the circles and thread it onto the 2 wire pieces. Use some glue to hold it in place and do the same thing with the 2 other ones. Then grab the 2 wires and bend them so they sit flat against the circle. Glue them down at the edge, then bend the rest into a sort of S shape. And once again, do the same thing on all 3. Now the circles keep the hooks in place while still letting them rotate. Now we can finally glue the top on. Start with the back and be generous with the glue. Then cover the rest of the piece in clay and add a lip so the rings won't fall out. Now let everything dry fully. And now that my mat is clean and the pieces are dry, time to sand them. I decided to put down some wet paper towels on my mat so we can catch the dust and make cleanup easier. Also, make sure you're wearing a mask so you don't accidentally inhale the dust. I didn't have any proper sandpaper, which would be a lot easier to use, but if you don't have any, a nail file will work too. And just sand your pieces until they're nice and smooth. Now that I'm done, all I have to do is fold up the paper towel and throw it out. Before painting these, I'm going to prime these with a layer of matte varnish. If you have an actual paint primer, that will obviously work too, but I didn't have one and this did what I needed it to. It basically seals in the clay and stops the paint from peeling off of it. And now that all of them are primed, we are ready to paint. You can paint your organizer however you want, but I'm doing a pink, yellow, blue, and purple squiggle with a pastel version of one of the colors as a base. Now feel free to enjoy this time lapse of me painting these pieces. Or if you're impatient, skip to this timestamp. It's alright, I have a short attention span too. I get it. Alright, finally, the last step. Apply a coat of varnish using it for its intended purpose this time. Also, I would recommend letting the varnish dry for 24-ish hours so it doesn't get stuck to your jewelry by accident. And there it is. That's how you make a rearrangeable accessory organizer. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. See you in the next one. Bye!